Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's been a minute. I know, hope you guys have been well. Alright, so today we're going to be recreating this outfit you see on the top corner of this video. If this is something you're interested in, you definitely want to stick around. To my subscribers, thank you so much. If you're new here, you're also welcome. Alright, let's get started. So I'm going to divide this paper into two. Per usual, I draft the front and back pattern together, and to do this you divide your bust measurement by 2. Next, I'm going to mark my bust length, under bust length and waist length. Okay, if you noticed, the dress has a joining, so this is going to be a half length bodice. Next, I'm going to roll a line across the marked points. The next thing I'm going to do is mark my shoulder measurements divided by 2, which is 8 inches, and then proceed to mark my neck width and neck depth of 3 inches. Afterwards, I'm going to use my pattern curve to draw the round neck. Next thing I'm going to do now is mark my shoulder slope of 1.5 inch for the front, and then put this front pattern on hold and do the exact same thing for the back pattern. I'm going to mark my shoulder measurement divided by 2. Also, my neck width is going to be 3 inches, but the neck depth is going to be 1 inch. The shoulder slope for the back is going to be 1 inch. And now I'm going to use my ruler to connect the marked points. The shoulder slope, I'm going to connect it to the neck width, just as you see me do. Now I'm going to mark my armhole measurement, and I'm going to be marking it from the shoulder slope of the back pattern. And to get your armhole measurement, divide your bust by 6 plus 1.5. I have 7.25 there. Okay, so now whatever it is I have there, I'm going to add the 1 inch back that I dropped. You can see I took my tape back to the top of the paper, which will give me 8.25, and that is what I'm just going to place on the front pattern from the top of the paper as well. Next, I'm going to proceed to roll a line on the marked point, which will now be the chest line. After that is done, I'm going to go ahead to mark the bust length and the waist length. Okay, and remember that the front and back waist length are never the same. Okay, and the difference of mine is 2 inches, so my back waist length is going to be 14.5. Now I'm going to connect the shoulder slope to the neck width for the front pattern. I'm going to remark the shoulder measurement on the chest line in order to have a straight line connecting it back to the top. I'm going to label the lines we have here. We have the chest line, the bust line, under bust and waistline. Then you already know that this is the neckline and shoulder slope. And I'm going to proceed to do the same for the back pattern. Next, I'm going to mark my round bust measurements divided by 4. And also my round waist measurement divided by 4, and on the waistline I'm going to be adding 1 inch for that allowance. If you're a plus size, use 1.5 inch. Now I'm going to connect the marked points with my long ruler. Now the next thing to do is to get the armhole curve, and to do that we're going to divide what we have from the shoulder slope to the chest line. Then I'm going to mark the midpoint and go inwards by 0.75 inch and use my pattern curve to draw out our armhole curve. To do the exact same thing for the back, only difference is I'm going inward by 0.5 inch and not 0.75 inch like the front. Before I draw out the armhole curve, I'm going to do the 50% tightening I do on the waistline to avoid zip bulge. And to do that, I'll be marking 0.5 inch on the waistline and connecting it to the neck depth. And then from that point, I'm going to mark my round waist measurement divided by 4, and I'll be adding 1 inch for that allowance. On the bust line as well, I'll be marking my round bust measurement divided by 4. And afterwards, I'm going to connect the points and then proceed to draw out my armhole curve. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to draw the dart leg, and to do that I'll be dividing my nipple to nipple measurement by 2, and I'll mark it out from the center front just as you'll be seeing me do. After marking, I'm going to really line on the marked points, and on the waistline, the 1 inch that I added for that allowance, I'm going to share it on both sides of the straight line, half an inch, and draw my dart leg, connecting it back to the bust point. The next thing I'm going to do now is to mark 2 inches below the bust line, which is the difference between the front and back waist length, which is going to serve as the bust dart. After marking it, I'm going to connect it to the bust point just as you can see me do. Now I'm also going to draw the dart leg for the back, but we're going to be starting from the initial center back, not the 0.5 inch line on the waistline. Okay, so just watch what I'm doing. Now we're done drafting a basic bodice. I'm going to slash this paper and keep the back pattern aside so we can work with the front pattern first. I'm going to close up the bust dart in order to fill up the tiny excess we usually have on the side. So watch the process. Next, we're going to be doing the under bust tightening. So towards the center front, just as you've seen me place my tape, I'll be marking 0.25, and towards the side front, I'll be marking 0.75 and proceed to use my curve ruler to make a curve from the bust point to the marked point. And then I'm going to use my straight ruler to connect the marked points on the under bust to the waistline. Now I'm going to go up by 3 inches from the bust point in order to draw out the sweetheart neckline. This 3 inches is not standard. It depends on how covered or how opened you want your cleavage area to be. I want mine covered, is why I'm going up by 3 inches. So you can decide how open you want it to be. You can make it lesser, maybe 2 inches. Alright. Now that is done, I'm going to extend the dart leg to the neckline. And on both sides of the line that I just drew, I'm going to mark 0.75 inch, which is going to serve as the over bust tightening. I'm going to use my armhole curve to connect the marked points to the bust point. We just need a slight curve, okay, to avoid excesses, not too much and not straight. This is all for the drafting of the upper part of the dress. I'm going to proceed to cut out now. Just going to blend this part of the cup with my curve ruler to get rid of that pointy edge. So this is it for the front pattern. Now let's move to the back. For this back pattern, there's nothing much to do here. You can even go ahead and cut it out in this manner. But I like to separate my darts. And to do that, I'm going to place my tape at the pointy edge of the darts, as you can see, and mark one line on both sides of the darts. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just like one line on the tape rule. It's not to 0.25, just one line. And then I'll go ahead to connect it to the waistline, just as you can see, and that is all. So guys, this is basically all for the upper part of this dress. I'm going to show you now to cut the lower part now, and I'll be doing that on the fabric. So this is the fabric I'll be using for the dress, and I'm going to be cutting the lower bodice straight up on it. Okay, so I'm going to fold this into two in order to cut out the front skirt pattern first. I've drawn a starting line from which all my measurements will be taken from, and it will also serve as the waistline for the skirt. Next, I'm going to place my tape on the waistline, leaving out my half length measurement, and I'm going to proceed to mark the full length of the dress. It's going to be a 3/4 dress, so I'm going to be using 44 inches, 43 plus 1 inch, which makes it 44 for folding allowance. Next, I'm going to mark out my hip length, which from the waist is 8 inches. Afterwards, I'm also going to mark my knee length, which is 20 inches, and then proceed to rule a line across all marked points. Now I'm going to mark the round measurements for each point. My round wrist measurement divided by 4, and I'll be adding 1.5 inch allowance. If you're going to be adding darts, you can proceed to add your dart allowance as well. Next, I'll be marking my hip measurements divided by 4, and I'll be adding 1.5 inch allowance as well. Then for my knee circumference, what I have on my hip line, I'm going to subtract 2 inches from it. You can use 1.5 in case you don't want it too tight, but I want mine really tight, or fitted rather. So I'm going to remove 2 inches from it, and what I have on the knee circumference is what I'm going to extend to the hem of the dress. Now I'm going to connect all the marked points with my pattern master. Now I'm going to proceed to cut out. I'm going to place my fabric on fold again to cut out the back piece. Now what I'm doing is marking 1.5 inch for my zipper allowance. Now I'm going to place the front piece directly on the zipper allowance line, just as you can see me do, and I'll proceed to cut out. Now I'm going to make a notch on the zipper allowance so it's easy for me to know when I want to stitch, and I'm going to slash open the fold. So this is all for today's drafting and cutting tutorial. If you found this video helpful, please do not forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. In my next video, I'll be showing you how to stitch all of these pieces together. Until next time, bye.